Why, Anna, large families are always a headache, but they are never a boa. That is what Big Daddy said to me when my brother-in-law was about to marry his daughter. And we were all gathered in New York at a reception the evening before the wedding to put these two very disparate families together. Southern aristocracy of close to 300 years, whiskey money, thoroughbred money, tobacco money, land money. On that end, Jewish doctor money, the biggest money. On this end, a sphere that has so many poles to it. Anyway, I was aggravated with my mother-in-law at that evening reception because she had designated herself Miss Congeniality. She had nothing to do at this wedding. It was her son marrying into a family where she could not possibly understand the protocol of the South. And she was delivering amenity baskets to every room at the 5-star luxury hotel that we were staying in. What were the amenity baskets? She created them at home with all the little shampoos and soaps that she'd taken from every resort she'd been in for 40 years and left her name there. And I was aghast. The road to the wedding was slightly bumpy, but we were getting there. My father-in-law, who was a smarter man, had called my office one day early in the wedding plans, and he said, "I need to talk to you. Do you know where they're getting married?" And I said, "No." He said, "The Cathedral of St. John the Divine." We were glad he wasn't gay, and we were not happy that he was marrying out of his religion, but why do we need a cathedral and saints? Can't they get married in the UN chapel? And I said, "Listen, these people can get married anywhere they want. The cathedral is beautiful. It's the Episcopal diocese. It's one of the largest, or maybe the largest cathedral in the world, and it has a Holocaust museum inside of it. And if you make a fuss, you're not in the power position. You'll be the Jew on the back of the bus in Louisville, in the church where their relatives preside." Wisely, he kept his mouth shut. As the bride and the groom were coming down the steps from the cathedral with confetti raining on their shoulders, she of the Gwyneth Paltrow look, he of the metrosexual Ralph Lauren look, I slid into the double-decker bus next to Grandma Sally, the 85-year-old matriarch, hands folded in her lap, on her white gloves, on her Castleberry suit, tuft of half-blonde hair here, tuft of half-blonde hair there, and good reason, reality, when you're over a certain age, you should always use a makeup mirror. A little makeup here, a little makeup here, a little makeup here. And I turned to her, wanting to be Southern protocol polite, and I said, "They make such a beautiful couple. Better than that fat fuck she was married to last time." Fast forward, and baby makes 3. We are invited to the baptism of Samuel Lee Lyons Brown Epstein. Unfortunately, or perhaps sometimes for that moment, fortunately, my father-in-law had already passed away and was not about to witness that heritage of his name on these incredible rolling Kentucky hills. And we all went down to Fincastle. That's what it said on the invitation. Prospect, Kentucky. No directions, you had to know where it was. The only directions were the itinerary, which told us when and what time we should be different places and what we should be wearing. Now, Richard and I were invited, along with his mother, to spend the weekend at the maternal grandparents' father, who said, large family is always a headache, And they picked us up at the airport in a Toyota Camry. My mother-in-law, who's used to rich being Cadillacs, just looked at me and said, "What is this?" And off we went to Finn Castle. A couple of 100 acres of rolling driveway. And then door open, butler there, grabs my mother-in-law's bag. She panics. I took her for a massage once. She kept her bag on her chest. And then when she lay down, it was below her. It is a certain generation. She looks at me and I feel her trembling. As the butler goes up the back steps, we go up the front steps. We have adjoining rooms. Richard and I are immediately checking out the backs of the carpets to see if there's cerux or silks. It's worse than turning over the china. And I hear a knock on the door. She says, Ina. I say, what? She says, "My good pearls are missing." And I said, no, you must have hidden them. And she said, "No, my suitcase was opened by that man." And I said, "You're not going to start this here. You're going to live without the pearls. We're going to find them later." She said, "He opened them." I said, "That's how it works here. The butler opens the suitcase. He goes down the back stairs. I'm sure the pearls are hidden." And this sat in me in great fear. We met in the library, and then we all went to Grandma Sally's house, to Altgeld, which means old gold. And if you leaned on a column, everything fell on you. The garden had gone to seed, paint chips fell on your hair, and we sat at a dinner table in 95-degree heat in May, candlelight flickering, Uncle Martin on the other end, a spy, I might add, and the Jews on one side. But lucky me, I was seated next to Daddy, and Daddy was now the ambassador to Austria. I felt very complimented because that's an honored position. At one point, I look over. The stuff is on my plate. Grandma Sally makes a toast and says, "I want to first toast my grandson Owsley, who is not here tonight. We are about to eat the deer that he shot." And you could see the Jews freaking out. Their sphere is the Bridgeport Post. Their sphere is the beauty parlor. And she said, "And then I want to toast the Jews. They brought us a little musical culture." And I think, okay. She said, "And my husband, boss, hated air conditioning. It's so hot." And then she said, "We are about to have 100-year-old champagne." Now that is a no-no. You don't know anything about champagne if you have 100-year-old champagne. And I catch Richard's eye and he looks at me and we say, "This is really something." I bump Daddy Brown and I say to him, "What are these little brown things on my plate?" I usually don't do that. I play with my food. I am allergic to cheese. I try not to make a scene about it. But the candlelights are flickering, and it's hard to play with this plate. And he says to me, I say, "Lee, what are these little brown things?" And he says, "Come on, don't eat them. They're mother's hush puppies. They've been fried in oil. That's for 50 years. It's a family thing. We never touch them." And I'm thinking, so why do you serve them? Later, he did take me into the kitchen to see huge things on every top of every counter filled with brown oil. Comes Sunday, the day of the baptism. I have not discussed anything with my mother-in-law. I'm afraid she'll accuse the help whose families have been with these people for 200 years for unpaid and then paid. And the loyalty factor is amazing and intense. They have great pride in their jobs. And my mother-in-law is blathering about this and that, and very nice. And she's actually behaved pretty well, but she's still missing her pearls. Out we go to the rolling lawn where the baptism is about to take place. And the robed minister, who is white but robed like a pope, and the family tables, and the blonde, beautiful Epstein baby is in someone's arms. I forgot who Richard, were you the godfather? I don't think so. Somebody who was Christian was the godfather, I think. Anyway, they're holding this baby, and I look over at my mother-in-law, and she looks like she's about to erupt into insanity. and this beautiful silver pitcher with monograms is held up, and I turn and I see something glinting on her neck. What is it? Her pearls. Thank you. You do that.